Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I am back with another video, and today I'm going to give you guys my review for the Transformers Haslab Victory Saber. And I want to do it a little bit differently than I typically do, because most of the time I usually have the figure in, in front of the camera and, kind of showing you like all the ins and the outs and how to transform it and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of folks are already doing it that way. And I'd rather just give you guys my general thoughts, because it's one of those things where it's not released in retail. And, a lot of people, they pull it out of the box and they either enjoy it or they don't. But anyway, when you pull it out of the box, one of the first things that ended up happening was it was like this, right? And, but in reality, of course, they say I have this piece of cardboard, which is really, really awesome. And, the artwork is just incredible. But then I pulled this sleeve out of the box because when I first tried to do the review, I was like, I don't understand why the box was like this. Where's the rest of the box? I don't understand where it is. And it turns out that there's this sleeve that has this really awesome artwork on it, shows the figure off, and then, of course, talks about who the characters are. You have, Autobot Saber, Victory Leo, Brain of Courage, Holy, and Autobot Fire. Now, if you don't know who Autobot Holy and Holy and Fire are, this is actually Stakeout and Red Hot, I believe, are the U.S. names. But of course, Holy was in a different color scheme for the original figure. And the other one thing I kind of noticed, I didn't, when I pulled this sleeve out, I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. But this is like one of those things that you don't realize is that the whole box is reversible, and you can slip this cover around and get a general style box. This is actually really, really cool to be able to do it this way. But I want to talk more about the figure, which I do have here in full-on Victory Saber mode, and I'm going to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly about this. So without further ado, let's sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon, becoming a channel member, or purchase some merch on my spring store today. I mean, when you look at Victory Saber as a whole, this whole thing is a very Japanese looking starship, which is really, really cool. Like all the guns and blasters and everything. And a lot of folks have said, Victory Saber himself is basically Transformers meets Gundam. And that's basically what you have here. And it couldn't be further from the truth, because the cockpit, has a little robot inside named the Brain of Courage, which transforms into Saber, and then transforms into Star Saber, and then transforms into, and then you have Victory Leo, which of course I did a whole entire video on Victory Leo, and then of course he transforms into Victory Saber. But when you look at this entire spaceship, I mean, it is a really cool looking spaceship. The biggest issues I had, of course, you had to put these labels on, and the labels are, I'm not really a big fan of having to put the labels on at all, because they ended up getting, scratched and ripped, because they're very, very, I don't know, they don't stay on very well. And the other problem I noticed a lot of people have been complaining about is these waffling on the blasters. And I've seen there are upgrade kits to actually upgrade the wings, and as well as the blasters and a couple of other different things, including the faceplate, which my faceplate on my Victory Saber does have a little bit of a QC issue, which, this is the whole battle helmet. And when you look at it from a close angle, you can't really see it. It's kind of hard to pick up on camera, but it does have an issue where there's a couple scratches on the faceplate itself. So I'm wondering if I end up getting that whole upgrade kit, will it be worth it? Because it'll replace just this one little piece here for the faceplate, which would be worth it in my opinion, just to fix that little bit of a QC issue. And that is the biggest problem that people have been having with this particular figure, is that I have some paint scuffing here. I've got red scraping off a little bit. There are some gold parts here that are scraping off, and some of the yellow paint and gold paint on Saber himself is scraping off a little bit. And that's where a lot of people have been having issues with Star Saber in general, is the QC problems. I also have a problem here with a little bit of warping on the blast effects. And the blast effects themselves, it's like, man, like this could have been a lot better. And I'm kind of annoyed because at the end of the day, like, you pay $180. Now, mind you, $180 and you get basically what is the equivalent of like 5 figures. You know, you get the 2 small Micromasters, you get both Victory Leo and Star Saber, which, you know, is a whole, you know, combination there, and a lot of transforming that goes on and involved with that. But I mean, overall, when you really look at this at the end of the day, it's like, this is a really cool looking figure, but this should have been at mass retail release. The biggest thing is that, and we kind of got this revealed when Deathsaurus was going through the whole campaign, and this is why I wanted to do this review this way, was they kind of revealed that, you know, the higher ups at Hasbro, the same people who caused the waffling in these figures in order for bean counting and cost cutting measures, are the ones who are like, no one knows who Star Saber is, no one knows who Deathsaurus is, and then it blows past like all of the numbers because they don't realize that there is a worldwide fan base, a Japanese fan base for Transformers Victory, and those of us who are longtime Transformers fans, we end up looking at something like this and we're like, oh yeah, definitely got to get something like this in hand. Now, looking at the figure further, you know, transforming him into robot mode, it's a lot of fun. I mean, there is a lot of cool things that you have to do in order to get him into his different modes. But you could see here, you know, Star Saber in robot mode next to Victory Leo. And this is where Victory Leo, you can see the big waffling problem with those cannons, because when you can see that in robot mode from the front, that's where you notice the biggest issues with the figure. And with the sword and everything, it just looks great. And next to other Transformers, you can see how well it scales. The biggest problem is Victory Leo is actually supposed to be the same height as Star Saber. And, you know, the other thing is that Victory, or Star Saber himself, is much bigger than other Transformers. He's supposed to be that big. And you can see him next to Optimus Prime and Rodimus Prime and Ultra Magnus here. And yes, Rodimus Prime is doing a JoJo reference for those of you who are aware. Yeah, to me, it's one of those inside jokes if you've been watching JoJo.
This is the end of the road, Galvatron.
But, you know, you also take a look at the Micromasters themselves. Holy and Fire, as I mentioned before, were actually released before with Red Hot and Stakeout. We are getting, what is it, Fix It, and I think it's Sea-Watch are going to be called Boater and Wee-Woo. Well, it's not Wee-Woo. And on top of that, with the Micromasters in vehicle mode, they're not the best, you know, Micromasters figures, but the actual US release of them, I have some QC problems with my Micromasters. The legs fall off. They just pop right off as soon as you go to transform them. So I don't really care for them. Really, the whole point of having them is that they were in Transformers Victory, so therefore having the characters as they appeared in that series. And Holy was basically the Bumblebee of Transformers Victory. So seeing him here next to Wheelie and Bumblebee, you can kind of see the progression. Like, they get much smaller as the Bumblebee Kid Appeal character goes on. And Holy, I would prefer G1 Bumblebee over Holy and Wheelie any day. And you know, Victory Leo in his beast mode, you know, it's kind of funny too, because Wheeljack created Grimlock. And I wonder if that's what they were going for when they had God Jinrai get rebuilt into Victory Leo. And that lion mode does look very, very cool. I know some people don't care for it, but I mean, the posability is exactly what you'd expect, because he is kind of, the whole gimmick is that he combines and transforms. And in his weird block spaceship mode that he transforms into, you know, which it's not really compatible with that stand, but it does work with the stand well enough. And I do like it there. So at the end of the day, I mean, you look at this figure and you're like, man, it's so awesome to have Victory Saber in my collection. And that's the thing. Like, I was never going to be able to afford a Victory Saber, just based upon the fact that this particular figure or this particular character is only known through Transformers Victory, which you can only get, like, if you see it in, not, I don't believe that there is an English dub out there, but, the DVD release that was released in the US is actually released with, with the Japanese language and English subtitles. And, so some people are like, I'm not going to watch Transformers Victory just because of that. And I'm like, man, you are missing out, because Transformers Victory is by far my favorite of the 3 Japanese series. And this particular figure is worth having. But again, this is where I want to talk about this. Like, something like this, I would love to to see, actually get released mass retail. Same thing with Deathsaurus, to have an entire Transformers series with Victory Saber or a Star Saber as leader of the Autobots as he was in that particular series. Something else that's cool is here. I'm going to take Victory Leo's backpack here and put him on to Optimus Prime. And the reason I'm doing this is because if you're a Transformers animated fan, you'll know exactly the reference that they were going for with this. With the wings, this was actually like a really cool bonus to have Optimus Prime flying around. Maybe give him a very large hammer or something like that for the Magnus hammer, so that you can reenact your Transformers animated battle against Megatron. But again, I really, really love this figure. The biggest problems that I'm having with it are the QC problems. And the fact that it's not mass retail. I would, because it's not mass retail, you have to wonder, for all the QC problems that people are having, some of the loose joints, the paint scuffing, some of the parts that are coming a little warped or a little off, or they're not connecting properly. You're paying $180 for something that you had to crowdfund in order to get this particular figure. And now what do? You have to replace parts. And do you contact Hasbro, or do you look at the DK upgrades, or do you look at on TF Safari or whatever to get different upgrade kits in order to make this figure better? I'm really waiting to see what Toy Hacks does to this guy. I'm sure they're going to give us labels to go over that chrome, because they were trying to cost save. They put the plastic around the chrome, and it scraped off on some people. And so I have some scuffing here on the chrome, like right over here. You can kind of see it. And like I said, the paint over here, I'm going to have to get some red paint and just kind of paint over parts of this figure in order to fix it, because it was like this right out of the box. And something else that's really neat is that the sword itself, the blade, can fit in the leg. So it could fit right there, which is an added bonus, because that's something else. And I'll give the guys at the Hasbro team a lot of credit for going to bat to try and give us Victory Saber. It was the Transformers team that actually did so. Evan and Mark and Ben and everybody, they were really trying and pushing for something this awesome to be in our collection. Because I think they realize that 25% of all toy sales in the US are people my age buying 25. Think about that. I make up 25% of the market for action figures in general. And when they're going, doing cost-cutting measures, and then I have to spend another $25, $50, $100 in order to make a figure better, I sit there and wonder to myself, I'm like, am I better off going third-party? Or am I better off sticking with the official and then getting the upgrade kits? That really is the bottom line here that I'm trying to make, and why I decided to do this toy review this way, to make it a little bit different. And it's kind of a little bit of a rant, because here I am, I'm enjoying this figure. By the way, color instructions, great touch. Blast effects, awesome. Figure, having this figure in my collection is well worth it. And yes, I did back Deathsaurus. We ended up getting 2, so getting the money off of that and be able to afford to get Deathsaurus is kind of one of those things where you have to take a step back and go, like, you know, I wanted to have, you know, these Transformers Victories characters in my collection more so than anything else. And yeah, there's some good, there's some bad, and there's some ugly out of this. And you know, I think this would have been better at retail. I think they could have sold this entire set $180 at mass retail, and they could have made a lot more of them, gave you everything that came in the box, sold it at $180, and I honestly believe that 50,000, like, they would have doubled their numbers, because now people feel that, like, hey, I can never get this. Now the only way to get this is to pay double the cost, you know, or $100 more, $200 more than what we paid for this to get this through the crowdfund, you know. And like, you could sit there and say, well, that's tough luck, and it's like, think about it though. When it was announced, I remember when this thing was announced, it was like right around, I think the campaign ended, like, what was it, like 2 years ago now? I want to say, or no, it was a while ago. It was quite some time. And Deathsaurus, we already know we are getting. It's not going to take them as long to give us Deathsaurus. It's almost as if that they had fully, you know, made these figures prepared and ready to go. But the problem is that getting Hasbro to say, yes, we'll let you make it. All right, we'll let you make it, but it's only going to be through crowdfunding. And that's where I'm like, you know, it could have been mass retail release. More people could have gotten to understand who this character is. And to be quite honest with you, I would love to see Transformers Victory, like, dubbed, like, with better dubbing, you know, for English speaking audiences, because it's an awesome series. It really is. But I want to know what you guys think. You know, what do you think about my rant here? Like, talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and really talking about this. Like, I wanted to like really show off this figure, but I wanted to review this thing more objectively from a perspective of a longtime fan who bought this and went, man, I really wish that more people would have been able to get their hands on this figure. Of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I have many more Transformers news, discussions, retrospectives, and more coming down the pipeline. So stay tuned for all of that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.